Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're focusing on a profound, deeply felt loss in the country music family. On Wednesday, August 5th, 2026, the music world had to say goodbye to a true giant of the genre, Tommy Detamore, who passed away at the age of 70. As a legendary pedal steel guitarist, an audio engineer, and a record producer, his fingerprints, they are literally pressed into some of the most important music of the last half-century. So we're going to explore exactly how this incredible musician shaped the very fabric of the country music we all know and love.
Part 1. A monumental loss. Let's start by remembering Tommy.
You know, when someone with this much creative gravity leaves the stage, the shockwaves are felt far and wide. The news was actually confirmed by his wife, Sandra, who shared a message with a truly broken heart. She called him a respected musician, producer, collaborator, mentor, and creative force. But she grounded her tribute in the most important truth of all, calling him the love of my life. It's amazing to uncover just how deep his musical roots go, but before we can even begin to understand that vast footprint, we really have to start right here, with the deep emotional resonance and the absolute void his passing leaves for the people closest to him.
And you get a real sense of his multifaceted personality just by looking at the affectionate nicknames Sandra mentioned. We're talking about Dr. Tom, Sir Punch-a-Lot, Drama Papa, and simply The Man. I mean, this isn't just a list of funny monikers, right? It really showcases the deep personal connections he forged everywhere he went. He wasn't just some stoic figure hiding behind a soundboard or a steel guitar. He was a vibrant, deeply loved character who brought a ton of joy and personality into literally every room he entered.
Part 2. The Mentor, also known as Tommy Jesus.
So, moving beyond his immediate family, let's look at how he interacted with the artists he actually worked with. See, Tommy was never just a hired gun in the studio. He was a true friend, a teacher, and a genuine collaborator. Tributes have just been pouring in from across the industry, highlighting exactly that. Take fellow musician Jim Lauderdale, who shared this simple but incredibly powerful sentiment. It emphasized the sheer size of the hole left in the community. When a veteran artist like Jim says it's hard to find the right words, well, that truly speaks to the monumental weight of the loss and the immense respect Tommy commanded among his peers.
And this next detail brilliantly illustrates the kind of reverence his collaborators held for him. Country artist Sunny Sweeney actually coined this amazing term of endearment, Tommy Jesus. For Sweeney, he was a musical father figure who could, quite literally, fix anything musically. He produced her very first album, Heartbreakers Hall of Fame, and she openly credits him with teaching her way more about producing than any formal class ever could. He wasn't just recording music, he was actively shaping the artists themselves. Sweeney went on to offer the ultimate praise for his unmatched auditory skills, stating flat out that he had the best ears in this business. And what makes this even more poignant is that Sweeney shared she had just spoken to Tommy a mere 3 days prior to his passing. They were actively discussing a brand new project they were going to work on together. His dedication to his craft and those enduring relationships with artists, they remained incredibly strong right up until the very end.
Part 3. From Virginia to Texas, let's trace his career journey.
To truly appreciate the legend he became, we have to trace his roots all the way back to playing high school guitar in Charlottesville, Virginia. It was actually during college that he found his true calling, the pedal steel guitar. And he forged his mastery by studying under a true legend of the instrument, steel guitar Hall of Famer Buddy Charlton. Tommy took that foundational knowledge and built upon it, turning a college interest into a lifelong mastery.
Tracing his career trajectory shows just how fast his momentum really built. In 1981, he took a massive gamble and moved to Texas to play with Daryl McCall. Just a year later, in 1982, he landed the gig that would define his early career, becoming the mainstay steel player for Moe Bandy. For 7 years, he toured hallowed stages like the Grand Ole Opry and hit shows like Hee Haw. But Tommy was way more than a performer. In 1991, he opened Cherry Ridge Studio in Floresville, Texas, fully transitioning into a master engineer and producer. And his excellence never faded, right culminating in being named the Texas Country Music Awards Steel Guitar Player of the Year as recently as 2025.
So the crucial point here is his incredibly rare ability to bridge the traditional icons of the genre with its modern stars. It's like a musical superpower. On one hand, he collaborated with legendary heritage artists like Ray Price, Johnny Bush, and Ronnie Millsap. But on the other, he was simultaneously building the sound for contemporary artists like Jesse Daniel and Robert Earl Keen. He didn't just exist in one single era. He was the connective tissue shaping the sound of country music across multiple generations.
Part 4. An enduring musical legacy, the Steel Man.
This brings us to the sheer scale of his accomplishments, which is honestly staggering. Tommy's excellence was persistent and undeniable. I mean, he was rightfully inducted into the Steel Guitar Hall of Fame. But the guy never rested on his laurels. He served as the master engineer on Time Meyer's 2025 album, The Select, proving he was still a major, active force behind the board. In fact, right before his passing, he and his wife were celebrating another project he produced and played on that had just gone platinum. He was literally achieving absolute top-tier career milestones until the very end.
And we absolutely cannot talk about his technical prowess without mentioning this brilliant highlight. He actually earned a Grammy nomination for engineering Bill Kirchen's track, which has the amazing, slightly hilarious title, Poultry in Motion. It perfectly encapsulates Tommy, right? Being recognized by the highest award bodies for his absolute technical mastery, yet still involved in projects that clearly had a huge sense of joy and fun.
Which brings us right back to Sandra Dematore's beautiful summary. So why does all of this really matter? Because, as she perfectly put it, his gift allowed him to lift others up and help shape the sound of country music we hear today. What you should really take away from this explainer is that Tommy Detamore isn't just a name in the history books, his influence is something you actively experience. You hear his life's work almost every single time you turn on a country song. His fingerprints are truly everywhere.
To ensure he is honored with the love and fanfare he so truly deserves, Sandra and his son Thomas are currently planning a celebration of life. It's an absolutely necessary gathering for a community that owes so much of its sound, and quite frankly, its heart, to his decades of unyielding dedication.
So we'll leave you with this thought. Tommy Detamore, the creative force, the mentor, the steel man, has left the stage. But he spent a lifetime freely giving his knowledge to young musicians. The music he made will play on for generations, for sure. But even more importantly, how will the next generation take the tools, the techniques, and the massive heart he left behind to shape the future sound of country music? It is a lasting ripple effect from a man who will be deeply, deeply missed. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.